So you're good to go, Mike, whenever you want. You're live on YouTube now, and the meeting's being recorded. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'd like to call to order the August 12th, 2020 Creswell School Board meeting. We do have a quorum. So if you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You're live on.
Can everybody hear me?
And the meeting's being recorded. So.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like to thank you all for coming. It's good to see all your faces again. It's been a long time. Any listeners out there that have any questions, please email them to us. And from what we talked about a little bit ago, there might be a way to ask questions at the end of our next meeting, but please, there's no dumb question. And we're going to go through a lot this fall. So come up with some ideas or questions, please send an email to the district office and we'll answer them. Okay. Can we approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for today, August 12th.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Okay, all those in favor, please signify, raise your hand. Okay, we've got a unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, election of officers. Start out with board chair.
Well, this is David, and I'll just put it out there. I'm so proud of Mike Johnson's first year and how leadership had managed onboarding him and all the good things amongst all the challenges. I would like to nominate Mike Anderson for chair. Are you going to move into the vice next?
Yeah, I guess we do one at a time. Yeah. Any other nominations?
Well, you only need one vote then, am I?
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Mike.
Yeah,
Mike.
hi.
Hi, you need a second. You need a second.
I second
Somebody
that.
second the nomination.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any
Thank
questions?
you, Marilyn.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Did you just ask for discussion?
No.
Boy, I got a lot to say.
Yeah, I know. Okay, it was unanimous. Thank you very much, David. Okay, vice chair is open.
Well, I'd like to just go right out there, be the first person to make another nomination, and that would be Lacey Risdall for vice chair.
Okay, do we have a second?
I
A
second.
second. Okay, we've got a second. It's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to say again how proud I am of Mike and Lacey. I've been chair and all that, and it can be a lot of work. It's a lot of fun though, because you really get to partner with the super. And I really am proud of them. And I know there's regulations around how many years a person can be chair consecutively, but keep up the good work, Anderson. Go Lacey.
All righty. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, looks like we're unanimous. All righty, well, thank you very much. Okay, moving right along, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda for today.
Okay, do we have a second? Got a second? Okay, it's moved and seconded. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand, please. Okay, that passes unanimously.
Well, I like we're all agreeing tonight.
Special presentations. Is that you, Mike?
Mhm.
You're up, Mike.
Yeah, okay, so, well, we have quite a few new people on board, but I think nearly everyone that's on the admin leadership team is pretty much new that have come in with the last year. And seeing as that we haven't been able to meet face to face some of them, I just wanted them to reintroduce themselves to you. So familiarity is there. Okay. So we'll start with let's start with Chanel Green.
Hi, I'm Chanel. I work here at the district office. My title is the grants manager and the student success and community engagement coordinator. My first official day, I started the first day of the shutdown, was my first full-time day. So it was a unique start to a new position. It's been fun though. My background in education, I started as an educational assistant at an elementary school. And then I moved on to an office manager at the middle school in 4J. While I was there, I completed my degree in business admin at NCU. And yeah, since starting here at Creswell, it's been nothing short of an adventure. It started with me teaming up on the SIA grant. And yeah, since then it's just been an evolving role, and I've had a lot of fun, and I feel very fortunate to be a part of this admin team. They're very talented, and I feel like I have a lot of good colleagues to learn from and be mentored by. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well,
Thank you,
welcome
Chanel.
aboard.
Okay. Miss Aguero.
Hello, school board. So I got to come on last fall. I think it was actually October 29th that I came in. And I will say, I'll just give the end of my story. This has been the most exciting and adventurous year of education of my 20 years. So you guys win. Anyway, my journey began at the University of Oregon, where I attended, actually started as a business major of all things, and ended up pursuing education. Love the coursework. I actually come from a long line of educators in my own family. And I started as an elementary education teacher. I taught second grade. I actually still keep in touch with my first class of students. They have their own kids of their own and started their own careers. And it's a pretty special class, that first second grade year. And I later, the year 2003, I ended up in South Lane School District, and I spent most of my career there, so 16 years. And I worked as a special educator, K through 12th grade. I worked as a language specialist. I worked with reading development. I taught an English class, a lot of different capacities in that school district. I had a lot of different opportunities. I later went into administration. So this is my fourth year in building administration. And I think one of the most significant opportunities that I had was being a part of building the new Harrison Elementary. And so being part of the thinking around planning that, everything from where the drinking fountains are to where we put the desks and the staff room. I mean, it was a pretty unique and awesome opportunity. And then growing into the capacity of being vice principal at that building and developing new systems and the branding and training staff and students and all of those new routines. It was a pretty exciting time. And then coming into Creswell, and I would just echo the words that Chanel just shared, but being a part of this growing and amazing leadership team has been a pretty phenomenal opportunity. And I'm super excited to see where this next year takes us all.
Thank you, Amy. Let's go to the other Amy, Amy Halley.
Hello, everybody. Amy Halley here, principal at Crest Lane Elementary School. And I'll just also let you know that Amy Aguero is our special programs is it director or?
Thank you. Forgot to say that.
Got your back, girl. So I am starting my 16th or 17th year in education. My experience started out in Las Vegas as a special education teacher and moved back to Oregon when I realized that that was not where I belonged. And since then have filled many different roles, classroom teacher in the elementary level. I was an instructional coach and an intervention specialist. And in 2012, moved into a pseudo administrative role in Springfield, where I supported the principal with administrative tasks and quickly learned how much I loved supporting the teachers and staff, because in that capacity, I realized I could have an even greater impact on student achievement and was hooked. So I went and got my administrative license and haven't turned back. while I loved working with students, I feel really fortunate to be a building principal because I still get to work with kids and interact with them every day. But now I also get to support a great staff here at Crest Lane. My passion in education is always centered around equity and finding ways to support students. So I'm pretty systems oriented and making sure that we build systems in order to make sure we're providing all students with an equitable access to their education. So I'm really looking forward to this coming school year as we get to creatively problem solve together as a team to work through all of the challenges that are to come.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, our newest member to the team, Christy Nicholson.
Hello, nice to meet everybody this evening. Yes, so I've just been on the job a couple of weeks here. I signed my contract a couple of weeks ago on a Wednesday, and then I believe I got a call 2 days later letting me know I'd be starting on Monday, and we've been fast forward and full speed ahead since then. And before I talk a little bit about myself, I too just want to echo like my excitement with this team that I've gotten to know over these last 2 weeks, and just everybody's just strong desire to collaborate and pull together to just really do what we need to do in such a difficult time right now. So I've been in education also almost 20 years. So most of my teaching experience has been in Springfield School District. So I have a special education background also. Worked primarily with, and I don't know if I said what I did. I'm the elementary assistant principal. I did that a couple nights ago, so sorry, back up. But I spent most of my teaching experience split between elementary and the middle school level in Springfield. And I too had some really nice opportunities in Springfield with some leaders who really gave me opportunities to kind of build capacity and leadership. And so shifted from teaching to working as a student services coordinator to support some district level work, and then also served in like a building counselor type role, supporting administrators and teachers and students. The last 5 years I've served as assistant principal at Marist High School. I was really excited for that opportunity. The principal really had a vision there to really build some strong systems and supports for kids who struggle. And so really felt like that was a nice opportunity for me to partner my background in special education with the principal's vision and really build some strong systems that were really useful tools for not only students, but also staff to have systems and programs to turn to really help to reach those kids that were struggling in their classrooms. And for me, I had a lot of reasons why this job was really important to me. So I myself graduated from Pleasant Hill. I know it's a little bit of a rivalry school, but I graduated from Pleasant Hill, and after I graduated from college, I bought my first house in Creswell and lived down in Creswell for about 10 years, and still come back every summer for the 4th of July celebration. And I just really, really love this community. And I'm excited to be down here for a lot of reasons. And for me, really pulling full circle back to working with elementary age kids, which is where I started. And then also really utilizing my experience at the middle and high school level and just knowing where our elementary kids need to be heading, and really looking forward to kind of partnering with our middle school and high school administrative team too, to really help get these kids on the right trajectory to where they go. And Amy Hallie has been amazing to work with and partner, as has everybody. So I'm just really excited, and I look forward to getting to know all of you more.
Thank you, Christy. Julie Johansen, let's hear about you.
All right. Hi, I'm Julie Johansen. I'm the new principal at Creswell Middle School. As far as my background, this is my 17th year in education. I taught for 5 years, and I've actually been a principal. This is my 12th year. I graduated from the California State University, Chico, with my Bachelor of Arts degree, my master's degree, 2 teaching credentials, and my admin credential. And I am very new. We've been here about a month now, going back and forth between California and Oregon. So we're all moved in, and very excited to be joining the Creswell School District team. I've been so impressed already with the leadership team with staff who's been checking in and planning for kids. I'm just really impressed and excited. I feel like people who have already shown up and asked questions at the community forum are being thoughtful and problem solvers, which I appreciate. And the reality is that part of my reason for coming to Oregon, we've wanted to get out of California. You can't really blame me. But we wanted to make sure that it was the right fit and right fit for my family. And Creswell really spoke to me. I did not apply for a bunch of positions just to apply. I was very strategic. And what really stood out about Creswell was the small town community feel and the one team, one dream. That's something I've always wanted, a unified school district that really has one mission in mind, and that students are at the top of that. So I appreciate being given the opportunity to join this team, and I look forward to bringing some fun and excitement, even if it's through Zoom. We will figure this out together and make it great for middle schoolers.
Thank you, Julie. Brandon, let's hear you.
Good evening, everyone. Brandon Stainridge, Assistant Principal, Athletic Director at the high school. My second year here. I'm the elder statesman of the admin team already, which is a little unique and fun. You know, I've really appreciated all the new people that have come on and their fire and you know, the ideas that they brought from other areas and kind of collaborate so we can work together. Really impressed with, you know, the leadership K-12 and how we're connecting, which is nice and going to help us even post-COVID, which will be good for our kids. About me, this is my 17th year in education. I spent the first 11 as teacher and a coach and student council advisor. I've been a small town kid my whole life. I grew up in a small town. I had 30 kids in my graduating class. So I love being around, you know, small schools and trying to fight for them and get stuff that the big schools get and trying to keep our kids here. So I really enjoyed my last year my first year in Creswell, and the challenges that are upcoming. I'm excited for and trying to find solutions to all of our issues. So after I started teaching, I became a teacher on special assignment for 2 years as I got my admin credential and athletic director at Bannon High School. I was there for 4 years total. In a small world, Amy Aguero was actually in my admin credential class, which is kind of cool. So I did that for 2 years, got my credential, became assistant principal for 2 years, and I've been here for 2 years. So kind of someone that got kind of pushed into admin. I wasn't looking for it. I like being a teacher. I like being a coach. I had some pretty good mentors that said, you know what, you need to step up and do this. And reluctantly, I guess, I did. And I've been super happy with being able to affect a larger number than just my team or the classes that I teach, which has been pretty exciting. So, you know, I'm excited to get this year started and hopefully get some normalcy and get some athletic competitions here in January of 2021 and get kind of back to normal a little bit. So, so that's me.
Thank you, Brandon. We have a high school principal now, and this is Jenny. So let's.
Okay, so hey, good evening, everybody. I'm not really ever sure where to look in these Zoom meetings. So if I end up cross-eyed, just like wave at me or something. So hi, I'm Jenny Collins. I am the new principal at the high school and super excited to be here, and I'm working closely with Brandon, but everything that the other administrators have said about this team is absolutely true. Like Julie, I was pretty thoughtful about the places that I applied, and I actually only applied to 2. Had visited that other school first, but then I got to meet with some of the team here at Creswell and left thinking, man, I want to be there. So I am super happy to be here. Yay, go Bulldogs. So I'm actually from Oak Ridge, grew up there. I moved to the Dalles in the 8th grade and then graduated from the Dalles High School, went to the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, stayed up there to work after I got my master's as a marriage and family therapist at Pacific Lutheran. I did that for a couple of years and had the opportunity to step in as a teacher in a dropout retrieval program for 16 to 21-year-olds. My first class, and mind you, you don't have to have a teaching degree when you work at a community college. You just have to have a master's. But I had 70 kids staring at me in that lecture hall. And I loved every minute of it and realized that I did not want to go back to counseling and chose the route of education, stayed with that program as an administrator and director, and then had the opportunity to move back to the Dalles as a career counselor and advisor at the community college in the Dalles. Transitioned from there. I missed working with the K-12 population, and so became a school counselor at the middle school, dean of students, vice principal, and just finished as the principal at Dufer High School, which is K-12. So definitely a pretty eclectic background from working summer migrant school with kindergarten through high school. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here. It's hard to start during COVID because of course I don't know any of the kids. I see them and I introduce myself anytime I run into somebody. Where do you go to high school? I'm going to be your new principal. Oh, I go to P Hill. Oh, well, I don't live here. Oh, they're a little nervous. So anyway, I'm definitely excited to get out and meet people. I've moved to the city of Creswell, so I'm excited to be a member of the community and look forward to meeting you all sometime when I can look at you.
Thank you, Jenny. Did you guys, I don't know if the board wanted to take a quick round and just introduce yourselves to them, or if you want to move on to the next item.
We could take a minute. And Ashley, you want to start?
Hey, I'm Ashley Miller. This is my second year on the board, and I am a mom to two kids in the district, and a sixth grader, and I'm still on the ropes. So here we go. Another year. My first year was amazing. I had great leadership and great mentorship. So I'm excited for this year.
Lacey?
Hi, I'm Lacey, and I have two kids, one in the middle school, one in the high school. I've been on the board, I don't know, several years now. I'm not quite sure. I tend to have to think back to how old were my children when I started. They're typically my benchmark for things. So I am enjoying my time on the board. And I just want to say to all of you that have started with our district in the last year and had to do moving to Creswell during COVID, you had to leave a job and wrap it up so that you felt like you could leave it well during COVID in your previous school district, and then start like with your running shoes on with us. That had to be a very hard summer. And I really appreciate all your effort, especially since this is the beginning of the school year, not the end, right? You don't get to take a chance to breathe and rest right now. So thank you for all of your energy and your effort that you're giving to us.
Mark?
Am I unmuted?
I think you're on now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Parker. I'm also on my second year. Ashley and Debbie and I came on at the same time. It's been an awesome year. A little challenging with this whole COVID thing, but I'd like to welcome Christy and Julie and Jenny to our district, and it's a great place to work, and we're glad you're here. Thanks.
Deb?
Hi, I'm Debbie. This is also my second year on the board. I have had 3 children graduate from Creswell, and I am just now a volunteer, and I don't have any children in the district anymore. I really have to say it's so nice to put a face with a name, because I read all your names everywhere, and I'm like, which one is that? Which one is that? So I'm really excited, even though it's through a Zoom call. I know who you are now, and hopefully when I see you, I'll remember. But I'm excited that you're all here, and good luck.
David?
Well, my name's David Usted, and I just want to tell you, you guys all just got me so excited just hearing the energy and the passion of teaching and making that positive difference in students, and then just hearing all the positive praise of our district and our leadership. We're so fortunate right now to have a really strong administration team, and we're really grateful to have you all join us, and that you think that we chose you, but we're happy that you chose us as well. And you know, Creswell too, like Marilyn and I, Creswell is huge these days, because when we were growing up, you know, it was well under 1,000 people, and you know, a lot of farms, and we didn't have all these, you know, residential communities. And but a little bit about me, my roots are quite deep in Creswell. My parents, both families moved here in the 30s. My parents graduated here. All of us kids graduated here, and my parents' grandchildren, all 9, graduated from Creswell. We've lived all abroad and far away, and pretty much always kind of come back to be near family. We have a daughter in Iceland, but they're in their last phase of their application to move back home and be near us. But I don't know what you guys have heard about me, but I'm a champion for Creswell, and I believe in our district. And I bleed red, not because that's the color of blood, but because it's bulldog red. And I want to just say welcome. And I've been around a long time on the board. I've been part of some amazing things, and also been part of the most challenging times of financial crisis. And I just think we're so blessed to be where we are today. And COVID it's nothing shy of a nightmare for the world, but I'm so proud of how Creswell School District has reached out to every student and taken care of the employees that work here. And you new people, you don't even know how great Creswell is yet. So I just want to say welcome, and I look so forward to partnering with each of you. And we are a K through 12. We really aren't that little businesses of just the elementary and junior high and high school. See, I sound like I'm getting to be about 60 here in a couple of weeks. Middle school, but I just want to say welcome, and you're joining a great team, and I really believe in our district. I'll be out to meet you all. So welcome.
I'm Mike Anderson, and I'm a grandpa. I've got a 6th grader and an 8th grader, and I've been on the board 7 or 8 years. Marilyn tricked me into getting elected at a much longer term than I thought I was going to be, but I really enjoy being a part of this school board. It's a great town. It's a great school system. There's a lot of good people on board, and it's all about the kids. And I really enjoy being a part of that. And I really appreciate all you guys joining us, and welcome aboard, and good to have you. All righty.
Hey, Mike,
We need Candace.
Wait.
Candace.
Oh, is Candace
need
there?
Candace.
I didn't know she was here. Candace.
Mike forgets me a lot, so it's okay.
Well, I don't see you on there.
I'm just kidding. So, you know, Mike and David are hard people to follow. David, probably like most of us, he's talked us into doing a thing or volunteer or here or there, but he also left out, he's also the president of the Creswell Education Foundation. So, I've been on the school board for 3 years. I'm also on the Creswell Education Foundation board. I don't have any kids in the district, but I'm married to an educator in the district who also talks me into doing a lot of volunteerism. So I am a football helper, uniform washer. That takes a lot of time in the weekends. And I'm also a volunteer assistant softball coach in the spring. So that's what I do.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, you bet. Hey, no, sorry. I didn't
No,
see
no,
it.
it's okay.
All righty, moving right along. We need a motion to approve the superintendent contract.
So I move to approve the superintendent contract.
Okay, we got it's moved and seconded. Discussion, any questions out there? Any comments or questions?
Well, I'm not going to be real windy, but I want to say how fortunate we are to have Johnson on board with us. He's in an incredible year, that first year, and look at the leadership team he's building. And I'm thrilled that we can extend the contract to Mike Johnson.
Okay, Ashley, you had a question?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I'm not exactly 100% sure how to do this. You guys are gonna have to help me. I would like to propose that we give the 2.5% increase in the compensation section this year only. As you all know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're having a lot of financial uncertainty, and I am very thankful for Mike. I think he's an absolute asset to our district. I do not discredit that at all. We would not be where we are. He's developed a great leadership team. On the other side, though, we have furloughed some teachers, asked them to take unpaid days off through this. And I just think that with it's maybe, business minded, putting extra strain on the budget right now may not be the best move with this critical recession we could potentially be moving into. So I would like to propose that we do a 2.5% step increase this year. Nothing to do with performance, only has to do with the state that our world is in right now. And then in the 21-22 and 22-23 or 21-22, either reevaluate or do the 5% next year.
Okay, any other comments?
I really appreciate Ashley's comments. I'm the one that had proposed to consider the 2-step increase, which would be the 5% for this year. And that is using a pay for performance value that I have. Because I do think Mike's doing a wonderful job, just like we all talked about, so I don't think Mike's performance is under review again.
Absolutely not. Mike's doing an incredible job. My decision on how I vote tonight is purely business minded.
Yeah.
Could not have asked for a better superintendent. Mike does a great job. He's well respected in the community. He's well respected by the teachers. But as a business side, I work in private sector. We're all on hiring freezes. We're on pay freezes. We're on 401k freezes because every day is changing. We have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. And I understand that the teachers get the 2.5% too, based on their performance, the 1.5% cost of living. I just don't feel like this is the wisest move this year, and it has nothing to do with performance.
I hear that. I appreciate your potential suggestion. You threw it out there. I don't know if it was a very strong one, in terms of keeping it at 2.5% to recognize, that it's a promotion step is due, and then potentially doing a 5%, getting that second step in next year so that we have more information. And I do like that suggestion as well.
I think if we get another year under our belts and we can see what this is going to bring and what, the effects that it's going to have to the budget, that's what I would like to propose, is that we do the 2.5% for 2021, we backdate it to July 1st, and then we do the 21-22, we do the 5%.
How are other people feeling about that?
I have a question. So Ashley just said we do 2.5% this year, possibly in this proposal. And then next year you just said 5%. So the total would be 5%.
So we would if the way I'm reading the contract is it says Superintendent shall receive a 2-step experience increase. 2.5 times 2 is 5% total in 2020, 2021. And in 21, 22 and 22, 23, a 1-step increase shall be effective July 1st of each fiscal year. I'm proposing that we move what's being proposed this year, the 2.5 times 2, to the 21, 22 school year instead of the 2021 school year.
So does that, sorry, Ashley, I appreciate you saying this because it's a hard topic to discuss and a hard conversation. So I appreciate you. And to be quite honest, I was having a really similar thought, maybe because I work in a for-profit world too, and we're letting people go at this point. So I appreciate that. If we went with a suggestion similar to what Ashley put out there, is that in alignment with what his current, what I shouldn't say his, I'm sorry, Mike, what Mike's current contract is now?
Mike's current contract is that there is a 1-step increase each year, which is a 2.5% increase each year.
And a COLA?
Yes, it's consistent. It's consistent with the contracts you'll find for the teachers and the unions that we have.
And Ashley, I think that's what you're saying, right? Okay, thank you.
He'd still be looking at the 1.5% COLA and the 2.5% for this year. And I believe we would backdate it back to July 1st, correct? Mm-hmm. And then he would continue that through, Mike would continue that through the end of this year. And then we would have this conversation again this time next year.
Mm-hmm. And we do each year. So even though his contract is a 3-year contract, what we call a 3-year rolling contract. So if we take no action, it reverts to the old one. But we've had a practice in Creswell to want to address it every year. So, I mean, we can do what the board wants, but being able to address the contract next year would be a regular natural step for us.
Okay. My question about it is, it's in the no cause termination, the extension to 24 months. Is that something that not that I don't think you're going anywhere. I just feel like I'm familiar with the public sector and people that have no cause terminations. And I feel like 24 months is a long time. And I'm not familiar with other districts and what they do, but I felt like that was a long time. And so I understand that it's to the end of the contract, but so next year when we evaluate it, would that be something that could be changed too? Or is that saying 24 months, no matter what?
We could, at each time that we evaluate the contract, so at the end of each school year, we can evaluate and change any of this. So all of it can be up for discussion. And the no cause termination was something at 12 months. There was something that highly favored us as a board as we went into hiring a superintendent with no experience. Right. And so 24 months is still below the average of what other districts offer if they continue to keep a no cause termination. You'll find that most districts, I think this is accurate when I say that, because I've looked at a couple different analysis over the last couple years. They don't have a no cause termination. They can't let go of their superintendent for no cause. They have to have some kind of performance issue. And we've kept this in there because we really value the right to be able to hire our CEO and fire our CEO as we want. But that doesn't offer the other person any protection. And so we went with a 12-month salary obligation for no cause, because at that point, we didn't know anything about Mike. We're still below the average. We're still not offering him as much protection. So if you think of it like a balance or a teeter-totter, it's still highly leveraged on the board side at 24 months.
Hey, Lacey, I just want to say thank you for explaining, the history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For everybody to hear that's not aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, public government contracts are definitely different than private sector. So
Any other comments or questions, or?
I'm definitely amendable to Ashley's proposal of considering the second step next year. I do have a value of really wanting to make sure that any and all of our employees are not sitting at the bottom of the pack. You know, when we sit through negotiations with teachers and others, we don't want our teachers sitting at the bottom. We want to be able to attract good talent. So that's part of the value that I was looking at in terms of, we have a superintendent that we now have seen for a year and we want to keep. We don't want him sitting at the bottom of the pack. But I also fully understand the pressure that this situation with the economy is not going to go away in 3 months. So I definitely appreciate the perspective of, we value Mike. This isn't a pay thing. This is the economy thing. We at least want to make sure he gets his regular promotion step. And then let's try and consider the 5% next year.
This is David. I do want to, you know, commend you, Ashley, for bringing up your thinking and your what's behind it. I do have to say I agree with what Lacey said. You know, we want Creswell to be the place everybody wants to come, and because we've done a good job with our hires, right? We're bringing in top-notch people. We can see it tonight with the new people. And Mike's been here a year, and I've seen the budget at Creswell School District when that's all it was a budget, because it was just numbers. We went from $1 million contingency fund to nothing. And you know, we're in better shape now because of the work our finance committee has done in the times. And we've had some good windfalls come our way, but I really think it's important that I would like to see Mike not be in the lower end of all of his cohorts in Oregon or in Lane County. I know we don't know what the future is going to bring. There's so many unknowns for the world and all of us, especially Creswell School District, but I would just put that out there as well. And that's coming from an old timer who's seen a lot of annual budgets, and Lacey's been around, you know, a while now too. And we've seen good times and we've seen rough times. But so I do appreciate your thoughts, and I like that you shared. It takes courage to speak out sometimes.
Just like to say, Ashley, I appreciate what you're saying. I come from the private sector, and since Mike's been on board, I've been absolutely amazed at what's going on. One of our issues was community communication, getting the word out to the public. There's been some home runs there with the Doug's blogs and the various things, that committee, the thing on Monday night that he did. And I'm seeing that, from my perspective, I'm seeing groups of admin and teachers working together closer than they ever have before. And I'm just seeing a lot of things going on for the good of Creswell that we weren't even close to before. And if there's a way to do it, I'd like to see him at least get up to the middle of the pack. We started him out at the very bottom because of the experience, but I think he's went way above and beyond for us. And I think somehow we should do something with that for that.
Okay, so
Mark?
just to be clear, because both David and Mike had mentioned that this move gets them to the middle. He's still below the average if you look at the contract analysis. So I just want to be clear that we understand those facts. And then I want to make sure, Ashley, when we're done with questions, what you'll want to do is make a motion, move to amend the contract so that we can vote on that.
Do we have to amend the contract if it's going to be the same as it currently is? Or the 24 months would be the difference between the current contract and the new contract?
Yeah, so the new contract that you have in the board book has all of the dates updated as well. So I would recommend that we amend this current contract so the dates are active, so that what we have is a new 3-year rolling contract.
Okay,
So that would be my recommendation. So then if Ashley would like to make a motion to amend the compensation accordingly to what you want. And then if you want to amend the no cause or address that, include that in. Or if Debbie wants to do another motion on that, that can be a second amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mark, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, and I understand where Ashley's coming from, and you're right, it's a hard conversation to have. But as Lacey put it, one of the reasons that we went with this 5% is because our superintendent is towards the bottom of the analysis. If he were toward the top, I would be more inclined to go with Ashley's analysis. But I too am very impressed with what Mike has accomplished over this last year under extremely adverse circumstances. And I think that, looking through the budget in the state, I don't think this is going to break the bank per se. And I would like to leave it as we have it written right now, as far as the compensation. Now, we want to change the no cause, then we can discuss that as well. Thanks.
My only hesitation is if in a few months we have to have a conversation with teachers about furlough days. And I agree with you, this isn't a huge amount, but I just think, how am I going to, I'm trying to reflect, how am I going to feel about wanting to approve furlough days, knowing we made a change in compensation? And Mike, as you know, this is not about you. I'm just strictly thinking, am I going to feel comfortable voting yes on furlough days if I voted yes now? That's kind of my ethical conundrum I'm having internally.
Mm-hmm. I'm very much in favor of Ashley's unofficially proposed change to move that second step to next year, to consider it next year. I do think that's a good way to address and acknowledge the fact that we think the salary is at the bottom of the pack. For me, I do have those values of both pay for performance and I water employees, but finding the balance of a little bit more time is still good. So I'm comfortable with that.
Is there even maybe not next year, is there an opportunity to evaluate it maybe even towards the middle of the year once we know potentially more about what's going on, or if we know we did or didn't have to do furlough days? I mean, that's, I think, where I'm kind of stuck.
I was thinking the same things. I mean, if this is kind of where it's going in this discussion, it sounds like it could be. I mean, can we put a date out there or something when we have a better feel for what the future holds here in the next, 4 months or what have you?
Yeah, I think that's a very creative solution to finding that as well. To my knowledge, when I've been working with contracts with the district, we've never done a mid-year evaluation, but it doesn't mean we can't. We get to write the contract. So I think Mr. Johnson was raising his hand.
Sorry, Mike.
I think what we're talking about in the next school year, I was going to give a report at the end in my superintendent's report, but I'll give that to you now. On Monday, the 10th, the legislature adjourned from special session. They approved the state budget and the following for education: to fully fund education for this biennium at $9 billion. So that's the full funding. High School Success Measure 98 full funding. Student Success Act SIA funding at 30%. So that's a $340,000 to the good for us. Or 300, yeah, 300, about $340,000 for us. No reduction to Special Services Program, Seismic Grant, 2.4 million full funding for us. And they were able to do this with some other cuts. In the SIA, they cut quite a hefty bit out of there, 2/3 of it. But they kept it in there at 1/3, at 30%. So we get to help our kids in need. That's that funding that we were looking for to really support our district, all our kids. But they also moved 400 million from the rainy day budget, or the rainy day fund, to cover that gap in the budget. So as it stands, that's where we're at.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I think that that's valuable information for every director to hear, given this topic that we're discussing. I hope everybody was able to hear that.
So I'm gonna ask the hard question then. Well, that's budgeted. Is that what we think will actualize? Like we'll actually, we're confident we're gonna see that money in this next year and not have to do furlough days?
I can't promise you anything about furlough days. I've given my word to the staff. We took furlough days last year because it benefited them and us. Every staff member that furloughed, they didn't take a pay decrease by those furlough days. They'll be compensated for those beyond what they were scheduled to get paid. The district saved money so that we would be able to fill a gap if we had the need to go to furlough days. The only layoffs that would come in, if any, well, and I have said I wouldn't do layoffs, but when we're looking at the situation we're going into with COVID, and classified staff have positions that they currently have, I want to find them work to keep their hourly rate or schedule going in the district. So that might be a different assignment for them. If they chose not to take that assignment, that would be their own personal choice. But my responsibility is to keep them working. That was my word. That's where I'm at. With the budget, the way the state has funded education, I'm not anticipating, I wasn't anticipating furlough days anyway, or very few, if any. But with the news that I've received from the legislature, from ODE that was approved by the legislature, which is now law, I don't see that in my schematic for our employee groups.
Thank you, Mike.
You bet.
Candace or Ashley, do either of you want to make a motion to amend it to evaluate the second step next year or in 6 months, or?
I think we can just vote on it the way it is.
Candace?
Sorry, I'm thinking. This
That's
is
okay. Take your time.
I did have one other question on the contract. It does say, I gotta find it. The residency thing, it said we were supposed to evaluate in June, and I don't think we did. I gotta find it.
No, I agree. When I read that today, I thought the same thing.
Okay. I'm not trying. I don't think I paid much attention to the residency strictly from the history that I had with the initial contract in that.
Number 14, the superintendent is encouraged to reside in the Creswell School District. Residency status should be revisited annually as an information item at the June board meeting, and I don't think we did that in June, so that's why.
Okay, that would be my failure to make sure that got put on the agenda. The history around that was a long time ago when I first started with the board. I remember the contracts that were brought forward required the superintendent to reside within the district. And then about, I don't know, several years through, David, that may have been the time that you were still working on the contract negotiations. That ended up changing because I think that was about the recession. And I think it was Todd. It wasn't the woman before, was it?
No,
I think it was Todd, and he had his house on the market for so long and he couldn't sell it. And so he was committed to the district. We didn't have an issue with that. And so we've changed the contract to kind of resemble, do we have an issue with our superintendent making decisions, even though he doesn't live here? So it's a legacy piece.
It is a legacy piece, and I would like to say, Ruby Price did live in Creswell, but I will say Todd's case, because the market went south, it wasn't feasible for him to uproot his family to come down here and take a big loss on his property. It's a different time now, but I would like to say, and it's the same case for Mike Johnson, he can be here 12 to 15 minutes in an emergency. And it wasn't a problem with Todd Hamilton, even though history says historically, of course we want our superintendent to live in our district, but it hasn't been a problem. It was never a problem with Todd Hamilton because he was literally minutes away. And it's the same case with Mike. I could call Mike anytime, day or night. I guarantee he's going to be down here in 12 minutes. And you know, you can live out west of town and it might take you 12 minutes to get to the district office. So I'm just speaking from an old timer as a director, so many years. Of course, I want Mike to move to Creswell. I mean, he wants to move to Creswell. He's been transparent with us. If the right place came along and it was great for him, they're going to be down here. But in my mind, he's so involved in the community, like Mike shared earlier. He's turned the ship in a lot of ways with the community and his partnership with the district, with holding hands with the city and our community, and with Doug's blogs and such. It's like he does live here. So for me, yes, there was a time it meant a lot. For me, he's already here. I think they're going to move here when the right place just pops up.
So that does bring up a really good question. We can either leave this in here a while longer, or if the board feels like we don't want this in there, we can strike it. Now would be the time to do it. Or we keep it in there and we keep evaluating whether it would be beneficial to have him move here.
I'll just speak up again since everybody's quiet and I'm always the one that talks the most.
We just need time to think, David.
Well, I think too, but let's leave it in there. It's in there already.
Okay.
We can reevaluate it. It's not a deal breaker. Let's reevaluate it later.
I was just curious because we didn't address it. So I just want to make sure we were touching on everything in the contract.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Mark, you had your hand raised.
So the superintendent is encouraged to reside in Creswell. It doesn't say the superintendent will. So yes, we'd like him to live in Creswell, but it says the superintendent is encouraged, but it doesn't say the superintendent will. So I don't know what the issue is.
I think there's no issue, just that it said we'd evaluate it in June and we didn't talk about it. I think that's all Ashley was bringing up.
It said we would evaluate
in June.
All right.
Yeah, that was my oversight. I did not get that on the June agenda.
I got to say, I agree with David on this. No matter, down here, he can be that 10, 12, 14 minutes away. But when he first came down here, Mike and I went around and looked at some houses down here. And I think eventually when he finds something that fits what they want and the conditions are right, I think he'll be down here. But I don't think that that should be a deal killer at all. I think we've got a guy that's doing a fantastic job for us. And we did it for Todd. And I think what Mike's done now is way above and beyond what all the different phases of what's going on than we had before. I don't know whether we reevaluate it in 6 months or a year or whatever you want to do, but I don't think that should be a deal killer at all. Anybody else, any comments or?
Candace, how are you feeling?
So I think I would like to make a motion to amend, and I'm going to talk this out loud, and anyone can give me feedback. But I think what I would like to make the motion to, let me tell you my thoughts, and then you can tell me if making it to amend, or do we discuss it first? Do I make the motion to amend and then discuss?
Well, we're already discussing, so you can talk out loud as much as you want.
Great.
And when you feel like you're ready to make an official motion, go for it.
And I think before I make the official motion, I'd be interested if anyone thinks this is feasible. I'm just trying to find a way in my mind to make this work. Is one of my thoughts would be to put in the contract. So of course we're going to do the 2.5 and the COLA. That's already in the contract. So I think what I would feel more comfortable with is to put in the contract to reevaluate the additional 2.5% in 3 months and backdate it if we're in a financially stable position or we didn't have to make other hard decisions. I think in my mind, that's kind of fair. It gives us time for the beginning of the year to see if we have to make some hard calls. I just know I'm going to have a really hard time voting yes on something if we made this. And I know it's not a huge amount of money, but still. I don't know other people's opinions about that.
I love that idea, Candace.
Okay.
Well, I'll just say that's about the only way I would vote for it, because I look at where we are today because of Mike Johnson.
Agreed.
And we all recognize he came in at a beginner level. We negotiated hard. Right, Lacey? I mean, this is a good contract. He wanted to come to Creswell, right?
Yeah, this contract very much favors the board in terms of how we negotiated last year with them.
Yes. But
and I just want to say to Mike, it is not a performance issue. It's purely economics at the moment for me.
Mr. Johnson.
I don't know if this is my place or not, but I understand that there's a difference of opinion about it, about the 2.5%. So, I mean, 3 months, 6 months, next year, if you want to move forward and approve the contract the way it is, I would donate that 2.5% back to the district and ask that it go towards our homeless families so that they can have internet connections during the COVID crisis.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, Mike, you changed my mind, so well done.
I really appreciate you considering that contract and the discussion you're having here. I really do. I love my job. I don't want to be anywhere else but Creswell. We do have families that have high needs out there. And I know that by our surveys that our homeless families are going to have some barriers for our internet connection. And I would just like to start that up in an account to where they would have access to those funds to have 3 months of internet connectivity, however we can get it to them.
Thank you, Mike. That's very kind, very, very kind.
I want to say thank you, Mike. I think that's so generous. And I just want to say, like, to this whole team, that is heart right there. That he's in this business for these kids. And that's why we're all on here as board directors, because we care and we love about these kids. We want them to have a better life than what we've had and every possible opportunity. And here he wants to give back to families and children that are less fortunate. And I just, to me, that's pure heart. And I love that because that's what I think Creswell is. I think Marilyn would agree. We have heart here. We care. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you.
Mark.
Very, very generous of you.
You're Mike. You're Mike. I'm Mark.
You.
Hold on, Ashley was talking. Can we let Ashley finish, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Ashley, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I just want to say that's very generous of you, Mike, and I think that'll make a huge impact in our community. Absolutely, 100%. And I think that's very, very kind of you, and I appreciate it.
Mark, you had a question then. I had your hand up.
I do. So I think that is an awesome idea. I support it 100%. What I would like is one caveat, Mr. Johnson, is that if we're going to set something like that up, where you're going to donate to help the people who have need for, this distant learning, that it be set up to where folks like myself could also donate to that fund. Is that plausible?
I think that would be huge for our community. I do. We have a large population there that needs that, and yeah, we could start that. Definitely could start that fundraising for that purpose.
Awesome. That was one of my questions that I had tonight, is how we're going to help these people that can't afford internet access, and I think we just solved that problem, and that's awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Mike, when you set that up, put my name on it too, will you?
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I'm going to put a challenge out there, and it can be anonymous. I'll put the first $100 in, and I'm going to challenge every director to follow suit.
I'm up 500.
Same. There you go.
What did you say, Mark?
Sir.
He's cutting out.
I'll see your 100 and raise you 2.
Ashley,
Lacey?
how are you feeling? I want to check in with Ashley on how she's feeling about the business side of the second step.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, Debbie, how are you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay, Candace, I heard you say that you changed your mind. So does that mean you're good? Okay,
I'm
I have
good.
to switch screens to see Candace. So thanks for holding up your thumb. Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion, then and we had a great discussion. I really do appreciate hearing how everybody's feeling about this, because our one employee is our most important job that we have, because he's in charge of carrying out everything else. So I really do appreciate all the thoughts, and the motion on the table is to approve the contract as it sits in the board book. We've not had an official amendment.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the contract, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Candace, I can't see you.
Switch pages.
I know it's what I have to keep doing.
Okay, we're past, Marilyn.
I'll call in earlier next time, so I'm on the first page.
Okay.
I was just going to ask Joel, how can we arrange our tiles? Can we do that? No, it's just random.
It changes as people, if they undo their video, it also shuffles. So
Yeah, I've had people move on me. Okay.
Okay, we're moving into new business then. Approve a list of compensated, what is that, companies? I can't read my own writing.
Committees.
Anyway,
Committees.
that's okay. I even spelled it wrong. Do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the list of compensated committees.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Okay. Any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Wait, I have 2 questions. Sorry,
Okay.
I know I always am the one. Is there a middle school site council? I probably asked that last year because I don't see it on the list.
I thought there was at one time. Do
I
we
think
have
we
one
had
there,
that
Mike?
last year.
There is a middle school site council. It actually has open positions based on the information I found.
Oh,
Is
cool.
it
Thanks,
supposed
Julie.
to be on? Is it supposed to be on the list because it's not on the
I
list
could,
that we're approving?
That
could
part
speak
I
to
wasn't
that.
sure when I read. I kind of caught that as well. But yes, we do have a
Okay.
school site council.
I think
Mike,
this
that-
came
that
up
has
last
to do-
year, Candace.
That has to do with the fact that that meeting doesn't meet after hours.
That's right.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
it doesn't have
Thank
to be
you.
compensated. That discussion happened last year. Thank you, David.
I thought I might have asked that same question, but I already forgot. It's been a lot. And then lastly, I see teacher evaluation district team. Have we always had that? And maybe I asked that question last year too.
I don't know.
I don't know an answer.
I can't.
Marilyn, do you know about that one?
I think she's stuck on mute.
Just a second.
Oh, we
Okay,
hear
now
you.
can
There
you
you
hear?
are.
Yep.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's because the middle school, they meet during their workday, so it's not outside of their workday. And that's
Okay.
why it's not on the list.
And how about the teacher evaluation district teams? Have we always had that? The very last one on the list?
It's been there for a while. I
Do we
couldn't tell
actually
you how
have
long.
that commit? Do we actually have that committee?
That I don't know.
The last time that committee met was with Andy Bracco and Todd Hamilton, so it's a couple years back.
Okay. I mean, I'm excited. I hope we revitalize that committee, but I'm just wondering if we.
I do too. I think that would be a good thing to head into, but maybe post-COVID.
Fair enough, Mike. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, if any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Good questions, Candace.
We're passed. Thank you very much. Okay, approved meal price resolution 2021-01. Can we get a motion, please?
I move to approve board resolution 2021-01 meal prices.
Okay, it's moved. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we've got a second. Okay, questions or comments?
Well, it's David. I think I say this every year on this motion. I'm very grateful the district is doing this annually now, and Anna has heard me say this probably since she came here. But it's just so we didn't used to do it annually, and I think it's a gift that we're giving to the families and to the district. But I appreciate it.
Can I comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, David, you don't need to thank me. You can thank the feds for this, because there's now a federal rule that we have to have equity between what they're paying for the free and reduced and what our paid kids are paying. So we don't have a whole lot of choices in whether or not we raise it every year now. So pretty much it's a requirement as far as the lunch portion goes. We do have discretion on the breakfast portion, but I just kind of raise it. I've been putting it kind of in step with the lunches.
Well, keep up the good work, Anna.
I have a lot of influence over the feds.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we're passed. Great, thank you. Okay, Cdl Blueprint Presentation. Is that you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch over to my my PowerPoint here. Hopefully everything works out. Okay, can everybody see the PowerPoint? Yes.
Yes. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so.
Hi, Candace. You can see all of a sudden. Sorry.
Okay, Ready? Here we go. So I have a slideshow to present to you. It's our blueprint for reopening schools and our comprehensive distance learning plan. And at the end of the presentation, our district leadership team, who serves as a panel, would answer any questions that any of you might have. The COVID-19 crisis has changed our world in many ways that we could not have imagined. In fact, the reopening of schools guidelines change almost daily. We got changes today. We'll have changes on Friday. It's constantly shifting and moving for us. But I view this as situation as I would a book with 18 chapters. One chapter for each month beginning last February when the pandemic was announced to us. While we have learned about the pandemic in the first few chapters or months, we don't know what the future chapters will present to us until we get there. Until we get there is the key point there. The facts and conditions constantly change as the story goes on from chapter to chapter. We are now only in chapter 6, and we have just learned 14 days ago that we will be starting school online with comprehensive distance learning. 14 days. Again, the time for us to shift and pivot is not very much. This announcement caused the district to pivot swiftly to implement a distance learning program that would educate our students to the highest levels possible. Prior to the announcement from our governor on July 28th, for the metrics that directed us to comprehensive distance learning, we have been planning for 3 scenarios: on-site school as usual, a hybrid of distance learning and in-person instruction to ensure physical distancing as per state and county health guidance, and in the third scenario, distance learning only. Though we don't have all the answers for your questions at this time, please know that we have district teams working diligently to plan for comprehensive distance learning and any learning mode that we need to pivot to at any time. Based on the conditions of COVID in our community, but in response to the governor's order on July 28th and current state and county positive testing rates, we have decided to stick with the option 3, comprehensive distance learning through the first 9 weeks of school until November 6th. We ask our board, students, and families to recognize that due to the conditions in the community and guidance from Oregon Department of Education, Oregon Health Authority, and Lane County Health, and the weekly adjustments to the COVID metrics, our planning must be fluid. So answers to questions given one week may change the next. And we've demonstrated that week after week. Based on the ebb and flow of the virus, we navigate, we pivot, we bring the best that we can bring for our kids in our community. The district and principals will be updating students and families regularly as COVID-19 conditions change. So, state guidance for school opening in the 2021 school year was developed by the Oregon Department of Education in consultation with the Oregon Health Authority. In accordance with the guidelines, each school has developed an operational blueprint for eventual reopening that addresses public health protocols, equity, instruction, and family and community engagement. Prior to implementation, a plan incorporating those blueprints must be submitted to the school board, local public health authority, and the Oregon Department of Education for their consideration. This is how the blueprint appears, and this is actually the district blueprint, and each of the schools have submitted a blueprint in their reports to you. So per guidance and recommendations, actually requirements from ODE, each school has to have a separate blueprint. However, as a team, we worked on this blueprint for the district. This is the template for the blueprints for each school. Considering that each school has unique needs, there may be some differences, and the principals can speak to those when we move into their reports, or actually when you have questions. So in the planning process, as you can read here, the district began the planning process for restarting school in fall 2020 by surveying parents, guardians, staff, and students for feedback about their experience with distance learning for all. That was last spring, and support services during the emergency school closure, and input regarding services to be provided in the fall, this fall. Responses were received during the month of July from staff members, students, and parents and guardians, representing 85 students and 509 parents. That equated to about 710 students. It's about 60% of our student body. We feel that this is a strong response rate and representative of the 1,300 students served in Creswell School District. We did reach out to families who were in groups of high needs to get their input as well. The district leadership team researched multiple online learning programs and adopted Acellus to use for comprehensive distance learning and Creswell's online academy. When staff return to work in August, they will be learning new online school program, Acellus. This is a program that they'll collaborate with to blend their curriculum with the Acellus course curriculum. On July 27th through the 31st, Creswell School District administrators and building leadership teams consisting of building administrators, teachers, McKinney-Vento liaison, district transportation and facilities, education assistants, all convene to review the survey data collected from our community, discuss the requirements of the comprehensive distance learning guidance from ODE, and begin preparations for the start of the 2020 school year. Discussions included how to serve our special education population, English language learners, families with limited resources, students of color, students impacted by the technological limitations of living in a rural community, as well as our student populations as a whole. August 4th, communications were sent out to the Creswell School District family and students discussing Creswell's interest to start the year in comprehensive distance learning and present the option of our virtually online school program. Creswell Online Academy, additionally, a second, more specific survey addressing the guidelines for comprehensive distance learning was sent to families and students. The community engagement of staff, students, and family is critical to our plan. And we've been reaching out to them in every avenue that we can possibly get to. August 6th, building and district administrators attended a workshop review of the distance learning playbook in preparation for staff professional development for comprehensive distance learning. Comprehensive distance learning is a new system of education. We all learned a different system of education. We didn't sign up for comprehensive distance learning. We need to learn an entirely new system and the best practices to work within it. The District's Learning Playbook provides that for us. So we need to learn this distance learning system to the best of our abilities professionally. We also need the best tools and the best programs available to provide a high, rigorous, and inclusive and engaging curriculum. We have that plan. Information from the surveys, staff input, and community responses was vetted with the comprehensive distance learning guidelines to establish a 2020 reopening plan that meets the needs of our students K-12 for both CDL model to in-person learning online or the option of virtual learning via Creswell Online Academy. Big point here, a lot of our parents that responded in their survey, 20% plus indicated that they would not return to in-person instruction in our schools. That was before the state gave us the metrics that turned districts to comprehensive distance learning only. There was a percentage of parents, 25% more or so, that were undecided on whether or not they would come to school in person or not come to school at all in person. Since the metrics have increased in the cases, I would assume we're going to survey again, but even with 20 to 25% of our parents saying they were not going to send their kids back to schools, we had to find an online program that would address their educational needs. And we did that with Acellus. August 12th, August 12th, the Comprehensive Distance Learning Blueprint is presented to you, and it's required to be submitted to the State of Oregon Department of Education by the 17th. These are the questions that we needed to respond to in addition to providing the plan. The plan that I just described to you, an overview of several activities that we completed during the last 3 months. In addition to that plan, these questions have to be answered by us. And so you can see what this slide is saying here. So the first paragraph is the description that is required from ODE to meet these criteria. And then how we are going to develop reopening our schools in the plan. The Creswell School District will remain in comprehensive distance learning for the first 9 weeks of school. This will allow teachers to assess the academic needs of their students, provide time for teachers, parents, and students to establish their online curriculum, comprehensive distance learning routines, as well as provide time for each school building to prepare for a safe return of students under the Ready Schools Safe Learners guidelines. In preparing for students to come to school, what that sentence explains there is if they allow us, if the metrics say that we can return students to in-school, in-person instruction on campus, we will have a plan to do that. We've already started on a plan to do that. And we'll submit that plan when those metrics change and the direction from ODE allows us to go to a hybrid model. Creswell School District has been and will continue to lay the foundation for rigorous, engaging, and standards-directed learning opportunities for both comprehensive distance learning and the hybrid model of instruction. The success of our students is our utmost priority, and as a district staff, we will continue to research, learn, and involve ourselves in professional development opportunities to support our students and families with academic and social emotional growth. In completing this portion, we're attesting that we've reviewed the comprehensive distance learning guidance, and we have. We pick it apart and we do it every week because we get updates and new guidance almost weekly. So this is our assurance that we have done our homework with the guidance and that we are addressing the requirements of the state for comprehensive distance learning. And a description of our plan and anticipated timeline for returning to hybrid learning or on-site learning consistent with the Ready Safe School Learning. So when they're ready, we'll have a plan in place. We have our online partner, Acellus, and we can continue to provide curriculum in school and online combined. We have the Acellus online school option for those parents who will not send their kids to school when we can move to the hybrid model. So we will continue with their education in that online school. Our guarantee is that we will provide the education that their kids need and keep them on track for graduation. We have the tools, we have the staff, and we're going to educate ourselves with professional development to get up to the best that we can be with online learning. Comprehensive distance learning. Here are the guidelines from the state. This is very brief. I believe the document is somewhere around 300 pages, maybe more. But in a nutshell, these are the guidelines. In looking at distance learning for all last spring and comprehensive distance learning in the fall, there is rigor and accountability in the learning. Last fall or last spring, we were in a pass incomplete status for earning credit in courses to move on to graduation. We moved over to grading in the comprehensive distance learning model. So students will be held accountable to the standards of the diploma and all the way through our K-12 system. Minimal rigor. Last fall, we were kind of thrown into this online learning environment. And really, the state was giving us direction after we were already in online, we were directed online. And our teachers can tell you that. We worked diligently, all of us, district-wide, to get up online, to give the kids the best that we could. However, we were shifting from every expert that we had for in-person learning in our schools to a system that we didn't know. Now we know. We have a runway into the fall for distance learning. We've had a little headway. We, as a district leadership team, have been preparing for this since the spring. And we've been researching for the best practices and programs to provide our teachers and students the entire summer. So we now have an online partner for our teachers in this educational endeavor. The rigor will be there. This online partner and what we will deliver will support our students who have fallen behind, who have gaps in learning concepts, as well as moving kids forward who need to be stretched with accelerated opportunities for learning. This online partner assists us. It has AP courses involved in it. It has support for higher level mathematics at the university level. I mean, it really has a wide range of resources for us to pull courses to give our students what they need, each student. In fact, it has a special education curriculum. It has a social-emotional curriculum. We really have at our fingertips a combination of anything that we would need within a school online to provide for our kids, with our teachers as experts overseeing this curriculum in comprehensive distance learning and blending their lessons, assessments, videos, projects in with this online partner. we give them a runway going into the school year, our staff. Attendance was optional last spring. Attendance is mandatory this fall. So students will be required to attend. Now they can attend classes virtually, they can attend via email, they can attend in different ways, but they need to be in attendance in the courses with the teachers. That connection must happen. This schematic talks about comprehensive distance learning and the elements that are required for academic conditions. Must have teaching and learning teachers engaging with our students online. There is a requirement for instructional time with the teacher and rigorous assessments and grading for reporting progress, regularly reporting progress to students and parents. The operational conditions, we provide nutrition. Of course, we're up on that. We will provide breakfast and lunch just as we did last spring. Our transportation department is already ready with bus routes. We'll have pickup sites established and we'll be moving forward with that. The attendance will be recorded in grade books. They have guidelines for how attendance is taken, ODE does, and we will incorporate that in the curriculum design when teachers get back. Clubs and extracurricular activities we have online courses for some of the clubs, but really the extracurricular activities, that's directed between ODE and OSAA. And we're getting conflicting directions from both. So Brandon and I are really tuning in on this and collaborating on what the heck it is we're doing here, with OSAA saying one thing and ODE saying another. They're putting us in a pickle. And by the way, with extracurricular activities, our insurance company, PACE, all insurance companies have removed any liability coverage for injuries incurred on campus with COVID. So we have no insurance coverage for liabilities. Anyone that gets sick and ends up in the hospital when they're participating in activities provided by this district. And that's for staff and students. Student family and support. Amy Aguero is going to talk to you about that here in a few moments, but we have a plan on board. She is on this, and the principals, they've been working together on how they're going to provide this, and I'm excited for her to come on and talk to you about it. And then we spoke a little bit about the digital learning needs earlier. Based on the survey they received from parents, there were 3 barriers to students connecting with teachers online. One was they didn't have devices. 2 is they didn't have internet connectability, meaning even if they could afford internet, they couldn't connect to it because they're that remote from where they could get service. And then finally, those that financially could not afford internet services. So we have gone to a one-to-one district, meaning we have purchased devices for every student. So we have iPads for our primary grades, our littles, K2 or 3. And then we've purchased somewhere between 600, I think, or so 700 Chromebooks for students 4th grade to 12th, so that every student has a device they can check out from the school district. And we're working with our partners, our telecommunication partners, to provide hotspots for those remote areas where parents do not have connectability, so that we can get them connected to Wi-Fi. And then we need to provide financial support for those parents who are really in a position where they cannot provide the resources to have internet connections. And we've done part of that tonight. Thank you much. So we'll continue on those, but every kid Every barrier will be addressed so that every student will be online with our teachers. I mentioned instructional time requirements. These are the requirements from ODE, teacher facilitated time, teachers connecting to kids directly, 50% of the instructional hours that are required by ODE. There's applied learning for 50% of that. And then other types of connections and instruction that happen. Not everything that's learned is learned right out of the curriculum. There are those things that are learned beyond the curriculum of where students are bringing their knowledge that they learn from school and connecting it to the real world. In looking at the time requirements for instruction, you can see at the elementary level, K3, 2 hours and 20 minutes a day, or 11 hours and 40 minutes per week required minimum. That's teacher facilitated learning. At 4th through 8th is 2 hours and 30 minutes, 12 hours, 30 minutes a week. And in 9-11, 14 hours a week. In 12th grade, you got 13 hours or 14 hours a week, if you will. That's required contact time. We've been talking about Acellus. I just want to show you a couple demos just for your entertainment. It's getting late, so let's have some entertainment here. Let's learn about Acellus.
Acellus is the learning accelerator that is being called a game changer by schools across the United States. It combines technology and learning science to help students learn more efficiently and effectively. Proprietary technologies such as Prism Diagnostics and vectored instruction are built into Acellus, making it very different from other online learning systems. Thousands of schools are switching over to Acellus and are reporting elevated standardized test scores, increases in graduation rates, and more students transitioning into careers and college. Schools are also experiencing a significant impact in their students' ability to complete courses with greater mastery and with a more solid understanding of the material. Acellus uses cutting-edge technology for the purpose of identifying where a student has a hole in their background knowledge that's making it hard for them to learn a particular concept. We call this Prism Diagnostics. In the same way a prism splits light into a spectrum of colors, Prism Diagnostics splits students into groups or spectrums based on similar deficiencies or holes in their background knowledge. When a student falls into one of these spectrums, customized personal instruction is instantly delivered for that precise defect, filling in the gap in the student's knowledge so they can move forward with confidence. In the world of learning, students very often have many of the same holes in their background knowledge that are making them miss a certain kind of problem. While not all students have the same holes, the significant thing is, when looking at the data coming in from the students all over the country, they start to group themselves by the things they do not understand. When students give the wrong answer on a problem, amazingly, a large percentage will give the same wrong answer. As we have studied this phenomenon, we have learned that special problems can be crafted so that the wrong answers entered by students identify exactly where they are needing help. The Acellus courseware development system compiles the wrong answer results entered by all of the students and identifies where there is a need for additional training and for which concepts. These groupings of wrong answers let us know what they don't understand so that we can then proceed to reteach and fill in the blanks. Let's see how this works. Imagine that a student has just completed a lesson on multiplying decimals. In the lesson, the instructor has carefully gone through the principles and the concepts on how to multiply decimals. Now the student is presented with a problem to test their understanding of the concept. In this case, the problem is 36.01 times 0.2. We work the problem by setting it up for multiplication, 36.01 times 0.2, and get the correct answer, which is 7.202. Most of the students get the problem right, but by monitoring and collecting the answers of every student that misses the correct answer, we notice something interesting. 38% of the students that missed this problem entered the wrong answer of 72.02. Since they did the multiplication correctly, we can see that these students did not understand the concept of this lesson that determines where to place the decimal. We immediately start another lesson for these students, which focuses on placing the decimal during multiplication problems. 24% of the wrong answers were 6.202. In this case, we can see that these students made a mistake in regrouping while solving this problem. So we give them extra practice on how to regroup when multiplying. 7% missed the problem by entering an answer of 36.03. Here we can see that they are adding the numbers rather than multiplying. Acellus now pulls up a special lesson using these same numbers to show them the difference between addition and multiplication. Most of the other wrong answers are random and do not show a pattern. For these students, we pull up the more in-depth version of this lesson, hoping that with more instruction, they will be able to master this concept. As the use of an Acellus course continues, we are able to analyze more and more data regarding student responses and the effectiveness of the teaching methods. The Acellus courseware development system allows teachers nationwide to participate in this process and the refinement of each course. In this way, Acellus is a tool to advance the science of the learning process.
So some other advantages that, can you all hear me?
Mhm.
Can you hear me, Mike? Other advantages that we have from Acellus is that, you know, we have students who fall into a credit deficiency at the high school level. And the Acellus courses are accredited by the university system. They're accepted in their admissions. So if we have a student who, we'll just say, failed a math course, and we still need to move that student forward in their credits, but we need to have them recover that credit in math that they missed, we can enroll them in an Acellus course, and they can do that simultaneously while they're doing the other courses, and then they won't be falling behind. So we have a credit recovery program within Acellus, as well as the other advantages that I talked to you about this online school opportunity. The big deal for our teachers is that they design the courses that Acellus already has set up. So Acellus gives you that math course with all the concepts in it. But a math teacher goes in and looks at the course and decides what they want in those lessons throughout the time of that course, throughout the sequence and the scope of it. They pick the lessons that they want. They can add videos, they can add assessments, they can add their own lessons into that course. So it becomes a curriculum management system for each teacher. At the elementary level, our teachers are using Seesaw in the early years with the littles, probably going to be going up to 3rd grade. They might go 4th and 5th. At the high school level last spring, they used Google Classroom and put lessons on there. Google Classroom is not a management system. Seesaw is. Google Classroom holds documents. Seesaw builds the curriculum with the teacher. Seesaw can interface with Acellus just as Google can, but once they do, the teacher has designed the course and they manage it along the way with comprehensive distance learning while they're engaging with kids over 50% of the time as this course moves on online. Amy's going to talk to you about the student services and supports that we're going to be providing in our comprehensive distance learning. And then we'll kind of wrap it up with questions for the panel for you.
Great. You want to click on that slide, the 504 and SPED one there, Mike?
You bet.
Thank you. Well, I want to start just by giving recognition to our special education and even our counseling team from last spring. They did a phenomenal job rising to the occasion of working with our students who are identified as needing special education services or 504 supports. And so bottom line on this slide here is simply the fact that we will continue to do our best to serve students and meet the needs of our wide range of learners. With the increase in expectations, the increase in rigor, I'm excited to utilize Acellus and all that has to offer in terms of supporting students in their specially designed instruction and related services. Our case managers have already been in contact with families. We've already been starting to work with specific families on developing programs that are best suited to meet the needs of their students. So we're excited to continue that model, and that will endure through even our hybrid, obviously a distance learning model that we will be starting with, and then as we go to further in-person instruction. And then following, so differentiated student supports. And I just want to also mention a big thank you to our superintendent, Mike Johnson. I think one of the supports and barriers that we're finding are the internet access. So thank you so much for your generous contribution financially tonight, and to those board members too who are choosing to support our families with that need, as that is a significant barrier. You can see on this slide, I won't go through each point individually, but you can see that we have students that will need some supports, few, many, and then what all students will need. We plan to offer continued services around interpreting, so providing opportunities for meetings in Spanish, literature in Spanish, special ed, TAG supports, counseling, mental health support. We plan to utilize nursing staff, counselors, our EAs, our teachers, to help support the mental and social needs of our students. Online study groups, as Superintendent Johnson mentioned, will continue to provide food, breakfast, and lunch. Face coverings will be an opportunity that we will definitely need to rise to that occasion as we bring more students into campus later and into the year. Physical space, resources for connecting with community agencies. We'll have one-on-one EAs to support students. We'll have GED supports in Spanish. Transportation will be heavily utilized for food deliveries, and also later on when we're bringing students to our physical building. McKinney Vento, she's already been busy at work connecting with families and helping get ready for the year to come. All students, just a safe learning environment. We want to help at the beginning of the year to help families come up with ways that they can support students in their homes by coming up with a safe study area, and try to set the tone even in the home as they come up with their new classroom, their school environment in that setting as well. Superintendent Johnson did mention all the laptops and tablets, culturally relevant instruction, the social emotional learning has been mentioned as well, positive relationships. And we're doing our best in terms of the many supports that students will need in developing schedules that are aligned and accommodating to families and students. That's a tricky one, but we're still wrapping our heads around how to best support that one. Technology and advisory periods and parent information that will continue to be provided as we navigate these times to come. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Okay. Am I back on?
Yep.
Okay, great. So now you see our reopening dates that we have there. And in closing, I'd just like to say that since last March, we've responded to the COVID crisis. And as a community, we came together. We came together to support our teachers, our students, and families in the teaching and learning process. Also, we provided extraordinary care for every kid. We'll continue to do that. We made it through the spring together, and we've got to stay together. We want positive outcomes. We need to create those as we go into this endeavor. We don't know exactly what's happening with this virus, but we can control what we're doing with our teaching and learning with comprehensive distance learning. And that's what we've done here. Now we're going to get better at it. So questions for anyone? Can I take the slideshow down and come back to the meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, there's everything.
There I am. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Our teams have been in, I would call it ODE, OHA, 101, 201, 510, 600. A lot's been coming at us in the last couple of weeks, last actually the last couple of days. I mean, a lot of information that we're processing in the guidance and the requirements that are shifting, but we're moving with them. We're doing the dance to keep up with it. But that's where we're at.
Mike, I thought you guys and the panel, all of you administrators that were on doing the community forum on Monday, I think it went fantastic. I really like the approach of the online session where parents could in real time ask questions, because I think we're at a time where we're really wanting to build trust with parents and what we plan to do with their kids. And you can think of how special your kids are when you think of your own, and they're entrusting our district to do the best that we can do. And so I think when you guys offer up your time in that real-time opportunity to answer questions and really address their concerns, I think it was a really important step. We had more questions in that forum than what we had time. What is your communication plan for the rest of this month until you guys get ready to hand out devices to make sure that we can continue to respond to parent questions?
So we took all those questions. Last night we answered 30 questions or Monday night. Was it Monday night or last Monday night, I think? We answered 30 questions in 30 minutes. And when we left there, we had 32, but I think we ended up with 64 or 65. I can't remember. And since then, those questions have been processed with the leadership team. And so we've answered those questions. We have an FAQ sheet that's up online. And Joel is then putting all those responses from the district to those questions online. And we ask parents to come onto our website and keep up to date with that FAQ sheet. Additionally, our principals came up with their own strategy to go into their own community forums with their school parents. And so they can talk to you about that, but they are each preparing to have school level community forums with their parents. That's next week. The following week, we all come back again. And from what I'm hearing from the leadership team, we're going to do a district level community forum again, but they may want to continue on with their school level. We'll work on that based on the feedback that we get from what happens next week and what's happening on our website now.
I think with the parent groups that I was invited to provide some more information just since Monday, I think your guys' idea of doing school level forums and addressing specific details is brilliant. So thank you so much for committing more time to do that. I think that's just what parents are needing.
In addition, as you know, I'm going on the Doug Allison show tomorrow, and I plan on bringing the principals on there from each week on there. Well, actually all the leadership team. We'll start with the principals and then we'll start to expand out. I got to get Joel up there early on in the lineup because, you know, the technical stuff and transportation and things like that, parents, there's questions that come in from the community. So, but we'll work up a lineup there, and the Doug show must go on. So we're in.
Thank you.
Any other questions out there?
I've got a ton, but I think I'm just going to wait for the school forums, because if they're going to get into more detail with all the parents, I don't want to have to make you guys answer them 1,000 times before you get there.
They have
do we have to approve the blueprint tonight?
No, it doesn't have to be approved. It's required to be presented.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're good then. All right.
Mike, is there anything with the curriculum being inside a CELUS that we need to approve? Or is it a statewide program already approved?
It's not well, it's already in the state. It's in multiple districts throughout Oregon. throughout the country. Actually, it's one of the top programs that you can get. But no, it doesn't need to be approved as a curriculum provider.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, David, I wanted to say thank you for the presentation. And without doubt, the leadership team, you guys have done a lot of work already. It's quite impressive. And like Lacey shared, I mean, I think I have a lot of questions too, but I just look forward to these forums and, you know, you bring in your admin team to the Doug Allison show. And, you know, it's quite educational and you get to know people, you get to know their personality a little bit more. And it's really been a great thing. But I'm really impressed with the leadership team, especially after this presentation. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
I will just add one more comment that a lot of the questions that I'm getting from parents are around the difference between comprehensive distance learning and the academy. So just a heads up, be prepared to address that and the advantages and disadvantages of each. Then I think parents will have some more information that they need.
And you know, we intentionally didn't put that out there because we are working through both so that we can, when we go from comprehensive distance learning on into the hybrid, we can respond to parents who do not want to come into school. They want to stay online. So we're working some of those details out, but that will be coming up. Actually, there's a Brandon, I believe, has a schematic. We've been looking at a schematic that describes the differences between the two, and Brandon's our schematic guy, our graphic guy. He comes up with a lot of these graphics that you're seeing in our you know, roadshow, but he does have a graphic that he's working on. We just need to get the narrative around it, and we're putting that together. Mm-hmm. Any questions for our fabulous panel?
I don't see anybody raising their hand. Any comments or anything? Well, thank you very, very much for that presentation, Mike, and you guys.
Mark has his hand up down there at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I can't, he's not on mine. Mark, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to pass on to Superintendent Johnson that, you know, one of the first things we learn in the military is there's no battle plan that survives first contact. And I want to commend you on your ability to adapt and change tactics and adapt what's coming down from the state. I think you do an awesome job. You and the panel both. Thank you very much, sir.
You bet. That panel is, we got the A team of superstars on that panel, and I am spinning wheels to keep up with them. I tell you, they're on the ball.
Man, that's great. That's great. Well, if there's not any other.
I'm trying to keep Joel up with me. We're holding each other up because they're running us down. Okay, sorry, Mike.
No, not a problem. I just want to make sure everybody has time to make a comment or two, but if you don't, let's move along. And jumping down to the board evaluation documents, did everybody get a chance to look at those? Haven't we used that same matrix the last couple of years, David? You guys okay with doing that again? And that one of them was evaluating ourselves and then one of them was evaluating us as a board, right?
Yeah, the process that we've used in the past this was last year's evaluation. And it was new probably 2 years ago. So this would probably be the third year if we chose to move forward with it. So this is a discussion item because we really want you guys to look through that. We have the option to add questions, remove questions, choose who we want to send those evaluations out to. Historically, we've made sure that all of those
administrators that join us every month at a board meeting fills out those group evaluations so that we get feedback on how well we're serving them. In addition, I know there's been some years that we've requested they go to the union leadership. So that will be up for conversation as well. So think of the attendee list, like the audience list, who we send those out to, the group, and then the composition of questions is really our homework, because next month we'll want an action on what does that evaluation tool look like, so that we can get that sent out.
Very well stated. Any questions or comments?
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, David and Mike, but I think this is a shortened version than what we had maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Because some of the questions seem to be repeating or had just slight nuances to them, and we found them a little confusing. But if you want to go back and look at the full list of questions, for those of you that may not remember those old questions or have seen them, I think that should be on the OSBA website, because this was an OSBA tool that we took and then shortened.
Yes, David, I really like this discussion. I do want to say personally, I like this shortened version. It still hits all the, for me, hits all the right bullets.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns with this version. I think last year I struggled with some of the questions about goals, but this year I feel like our goals are very clear, so it'll be much easier for me to evaluate. That was, I think, the only thing I struggled with last year.
I agree, Candace. I think that'll be easier.
Yeah.
Any other questions on our homework?
Well, yeah, take a look at them, and if you have any ideas or changes or anything, mark them down and keep track of them until the next meeting. And I don't think we have a problem with shortening it even more or make it a little more meaningful, but take notes and we'll kick it around the next month.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, OSBA board training. I had a couple questions. I talked to the head of the OSBA training, and at one time we had some free hours coming our way, and we're over the 6 months timeline on that. And I talked to the guy, and they're willing to present just about any topic we want to cover. And he sent me a copy of the OSBA handbook, and I haven't had a chance to look through it, but I'll send a copy to everybody. And you might take a look at it, and if something jumps out and grabs you that we should be talking about, or maybe get some training on, let us know. Or if there's some subject you want to talk about, we can get those guys down here and spend a little time with them. And but give that some thought, what you want to do with that. I think their trainers are really well trained, and I mean, really do a good job of presentation. So if something comes up, we'll get some good use out of it. David,
How many
did you?
hours, Mike?
What's that?
How many hours?
Well, we don't have any free. It's up to us. I think she told me is
roll it over.
a little over $400 a session or something for all of us. But
Mike, did you
I'll
ask?
get that out, and anybody has any ideas, why, let us know.
Mike, did you ask if they would be willing to roll over that surplus that we had? Because we had planned on doing something in the spring, but we moved into kind of COVID response, and we didn't just want to distract Mike or other administration with any kind of training.
I will ask that question again, but the Vincent, I can't think of his last name, told me that it was ended. The timing was ended, but I'll ask him because of that.
Okay.
Can we get another go at it, see what he says?
I think we should push on that.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
And
No
I think
problem
at
there.
one point we had a list. In one meeting, we made a list of trainings or topics we were interested in. And I'm trying to remember what meeting we did that in. I'll look though, because I do remember we had a list at one point.
Could you,
Candace,
Candace, could you find that for us?
Yeah.
I'll look back through my notes too, Candace, because now that you mentioned that, that does ring a bell.
Yeah, because I think mine was evaluations. So that's why I was thinking about it.
Mhm. Oh, I just found it. Board training ideas, evaluations, Student Success Act. That may be a little bit aged, or we may have overdone that. Board goals and operating agreements.
Still think those are great ones.
I had an asterisk next to Student Success Act and operating agreements as the high priority. So I don't know if we still want to do the Student Success Act, or if we want to focus something like on operating agreements or board goals.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give them a holler and ask them about the timing and then operating agreements, what's involved with that, and see what we come up with.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you
Alrighty,
for mentioning that, Candace.
But if seriously, if anybody comes up with some ideas or something you want to go through, why, let us know. Okay, moving right along, the OSBA annual convention. I never did see the date on that. Marilyn, do you have the date on that?
I do. I've got it pulled up so that we can address this. They're going to do a one-day virtual conference this year, not an in-person conference. It's going to be on Saturday, November 14. So if we want to register, if you want to register for that, I think we need to get an email to Marilyn so that whenever that opens up, we are prepared to register. And it will include one keynote and then 7 opportunities for breakout sessions. I don't know if some of those will be concurrent, right? I mean, there maybe only be 3 timeframes with multiple options. It doesn't give an example timeline or a day outline. It just says 7 opportunities for breakout sessions. But that is Saturday, November 14.
Okay. All righty. Moving right along, trustee report. Mark, you want to go first?
Sure. I don't have a whole lot to report. Didn't do a whole lot this month, but survive. Just still plugging away on the School Board Leadership Academy and working with my disabled Vietnam shut-in. Other than that, just plugging along.
I need that one.
Okay. Deb, what have you been up to?
Well, I finally finished my bronze leadership, which was, I've had a lot of time. So I'm working on my silver even. Woo! I spent some time with our boosters, cleaning out our concessions since we won't be returning to do anything there. Boosters are going to go ahead and have the golf tournament still. So we are planning that for September 27th. And so hopefully we'll get some people out there golfing since we were unable to have our annual auction because of the COVID crisis. So that's pretty much all I've been doing, but that's it.
Oh, okay. Ashley?
I don't have much to report. I've been working from home full time and taking care of my children. So
okay. Lacey?
Visiting with a lot of different parents and parent groups on questions that they have. So that probably has taken a little bit of time. Beyond that, I feel sometimes just overwhelmed working at home with kids.
Yeah, but you did attend the forum.
Yes. And I think probably all of us attended the forum as well. So
I did the forum as well. My husband and I attended, yes. And it was great. It was very informative.
Candace, you want to continue?
Sure. Same as most, trying to work from home. I also have had an opportunity for, it feels like the last month, but I'm not sure, to help participate in football practices. Workouts have started. And so I am there daily taking temperatures and wearing my mask and writing down all the kids that come. And, it's been really great because we've got to interact with the kids, and they are very chatty right now because they're so excited to talk to you, which is good because they're all very sweet, kind kids. So that's what I've got to do.
David?
I don't have really much to share about anything involved with the district. It's been a very busy summer for us. But I look forward to when COVID does settle down, we can kind of get back to some type of routine, and kids can be kids and just really embrace the experience of school. And so I really don't have don't have a lot to share. My wife finished radiation. That's a big
super.
deal.
Yay.
That's a big deal in our family. And
Super.
just chemo through the end of this year, and she's super tough. She's getting a little bit of her sass back, so she looks great. Her hair's white. It's coming in. So that's our family update.
Oh, that's great. I've been to a couple, Lane ESD virtual meetings, and then the other day I went over to high school to see Mike, and Brandon gave me a tour of the weight room at the high school, and I've never seen that. And that is really a nice setup in there now for those kids. Really good equipment. The other thing that I wanted to mention, the OSBA is putting on a legal webinar next, I think it's Tuesday, the 18th at noon. And they're going to talk about the rules coming from Salem and the legal ramifications with what's going on. And I would really recommend all of you taking a chance, getting on that webinar and watching that thing and listening to it. There's some liability issues there, and I don't know that they have all the answers yet with all the different directives that are coming from the Salem, but I'd strongly recommend that everybody take a look at that, listen to what they have to say. They'll be the OSBA attorneys will be presenting it. So I think it'd be time well spent if you can get away and watch it. Other than that, that's about all I've done. Moving right along, technology and facility reports. Joel, you out there?
I am. I'm here. I can take questions. I might have answers.
Any questions? Excuse me, any questions for Joel?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment regarding the front of the high school. It looks awesome, Joel. It's nice to see that the doors have finally been installed. Like, you got a good picture up there. My wife and I ride by there on a regular basis on our bikes, and it's nice to see that progressing. It's awesome.
Yeah, I thank you for that. And it felt like a long time coming. COVID-19 really slowed a lot of that production work down on that wall and those doors. But that's all being paid for out of that security grant that we received almost 18 months ago now. And so it's really nice to see that progress happening and that safety features going in. And I think what's nice about it too, though, is it shows the progress that we really are moving towards the idea that we want our students back in the building, because we want to make our buildings ready and able to welcoming and have those doors actually open the doors for our students to welcome back. So thank you for that.
Okay.
I agree with I was gonna say, I agree with Mark. I was at the school yesterday at the front door, and it doesn't distract from the building. It looks really nice, and I'm excited to keep it safe for the kids. You guys did an excellent job on designing that.
Next month, as an FYI, I'll have more details as far as finish out details on all the different various things that we are accomplishing and our successes for the summer. It's been a summer like no other. It's going to be a school year like no other. And I'll have more details in September's board report. This August board report was fast and furious to get put in, frankly, because I've been fast and furious trying to keep busy or staying busy, not trying. I am staying busy. I do have one thing to add that I didn't put in this report, and I will put a bio in, is we have a new head custodian in the district, and that's Crystal Erickson. She came on this last month. We welcomed her, and I'll put a little write-up for her in there so you guys can meet a little bit about her and know her. And she's heading our custodial crews, and we're really excited about that. She comes in with a tremendous amount of experience and understanding of how buildings can function and be efficient when it comes to custodial services. So I'll have that information for you guys next month.
Joel, I only had one question, and maybe we answered this last month and I forgot. Is the potential seismic grant for the high school, did that ever come to fruition?
No, it didn't, but we can take that same grant and apply it for next year. And I've been in communication with the folks at that program, and the COVID-19 has really slowed a lot of that stuff down for them as well. It's interesting when it's the same thing, a problem when we were dealing with ODE. A lot of folks who deal with ODE are working from their home. When you call someone, you get a lot of phone messages and you play back and forth. So long, short, and skinny of it is that my understanding is that I felt very encouraged by what they were saying for us in the next go around this spring.
Great, thank you very much.
And as far as the timeline for the Crest Lane project, the COVID-19, that whole piece is really playing a real serious havoc on some of those timelines and skewing, but we're still on track to get our RFPs out. And I'll hopefully have more information for September and October. I mean, that'll be a piece in my report for the coming months, getting you guys updated on that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, any questions for Amy at the elementary school?
She's gonna get enough at the community forum.
Okay. That's for sure. How about the questions for Julie at the middle school? Any questions or comments? Again, I know they're gonna get a bunch of them. And then for Jenny at the high school? Mr. Johnson, you're up.
Yeah, welcome aboard, Jenny and Julie. Just one last time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you on board. Mike, you got some comments?
I do. Well, just a little bit on my report, not a lot, but I've had weekly meetings with Lane ESD, Lane County Health, Rural Schools Network, Oregon Department of Education, and Coastal Leadership around this whole, everything is focused on COVID and reopening schools. And when I have those meetings, I then bring the district leadership team in and we debrief those meetings. And so we've had those meetings weekly throughout the summer. We've also, as a district leadership team, we've entertained presentations for online school platforms. So when we were selecting the platforms that we wanted to go to provide the best online programs for our kids, we had presentations on Canvas, Acellus, Pearson, Odyssey-ware, and Fuel Ed. I looked into those, and they just really had too many hiccups and not enough for our kids for a well-rounded education. So those were easy to kind of rule out, but then we narrowed it down to what we felt was best. But we also got feedback from our task force on those while we were moving into them. So we had some input from our teachers and our classified folks while we're moving in that direction. And that, by the way, the task force for reopening schools that week was like boot camp week for this district leadership team. We started out on Monday, Tuesday to set up the entire schedule for what we were going to do to process comprehensive distance learning and all the components of it with our district leadership teams throughout. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we hit it with the entire district. I think we had over 30 members on that task force representing the district. And that was a phenomenal, I mean, considering what we had, the work that we had to do, that was a really good week that launched us clear out in front of this thing for comprehensive distance learning. And then Mike and I signed the contract to accept the $2.4 million from the Oregon Department of Education for the seismic grant. That was, well, I felt like I was like, you know, the president of the United States signing some kind of bill going through. That was a big day for me. I wanted a picture of that to put it up on my wall and stick the pen that Mike and I used to sign that thing up there. That's a lot of money. And then other than that, just trying to tune into what the legislature is doing and what's happening in this state of ours around all the education issues and initiatives. And the one thing that I'm looking for we're all looking for is how are they going to protect us from liabilities with this COVID thing and the people that are on our campuses? You know, how we have no protection there. We have no insurance against those liabilities. And they left the second session. It's been on the docket, both sessions, and they wouldn't touch it either session. So Colt Gill told us today, whoever was tuning in, or yesterday, I don't know, my days are kind of blending now, especially at 9:30 at night. But anyway, he said, your liabilities with COVID are your liabilities. You don't have any protection from the state, and you don't have any insurance coverage. So anyway, that's my happy report.
The only other thing, any requests for the board, or anything you want to talk about or bring somebody in to talk to us, just let us know. And two things. I want to, first of all, thank all the new people that have joined us. I really appreciate you guys coming on board and the work you're doing. And the other thing is, thank the board we had a tough discussion tonight, and it's good to have those and hear everybody's opinion. I respect what all of you think so much, and it's good to see what everybody thinks, and at the end of the day you come up with some compromises here and there. That's fantastic. And thank you, Mike. I appreciate you being there, by golly. Anyway, if there's nothing else or no more comments, we are done. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Night all.
Bye-bye.